Hi everyone, I'm Angharad from the Teaching Awards Trust, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by Sufian Sadiq, the Director of Teaching School at the Chiltern Learning Trust. It's Race Equality Week this week, so we wanted to take some time to talk about racial equality in the education sector. So welcome Sufian, thank you for joining me today. I thought we could begin with you introducing yourself and sharing a bit about your current role in education.
Thank you very much, Harry. It's a real pleasure to be here with the Teaching Awards, especially as we're embarking on what is an incredibly important week, but for many of us, something that defines our lives, something that defines what we experience, what we endure, and what we go through every day. So I'm really pleased that I could be here with you for that. My name is Sufian Sadiq. I'm the Director of Teaching School at Chiltern Learning Trust. I'm involved in a number of other organizations. I am a board member of the Chartered College of Teaching and a fellow of the Chartered College. I'm also a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Educational Assessors. I do a lot of work around with Pearson's, in fact, as a lead examiner and so on. I'm heavily involved in a number of voluntary organizations, charitable organizations that have a key motive to try and make society more equitable, whether that's the rich and poor divide, or whether that's the race and the equality divide that we see within society. So that's me in a nutshell. I do that within my own time, but that's something I'm incredibly passionate about.
Oh, amazing. And so when you sort of started to get into the education sector, what was your experience in terms of racial inequality or racial equality, if you had some positive experiences? What was it like for you when you first started working in education?
I think I've come at a stage where right now, the situation and the number of people from ethnic minority backgrounds, you see a lot more than you would have. When I started 15 years ago, we're still a minority now, a significant minority now, especially at leadership levels. 15 years ago, that was significantly more apparent how much of a minority, being an ethnic minority, being someone from a minoritized community, what that actually looks like and means when you come into education. It was challenging. I was very lucky that I had teachers that came from minoritized communities themselves, and therefore going to a school, I had role models, I had people that I'd seen and looked up to and thought, I want to be like them. But the initial stages required a lot of emotional resilience to overcome, whether there's biases within the system, but also a sense of belonging in the system. And that's probably the real and the most difficult part when I look back. Did I feel I belonged as a part of the profession, as a part of the system? And perhaps that was the thing that was missing. And belonging is one of those things where it's really hard to define to someone that doesn't come from a background that's minoritized in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Because you always stand out, you always look different, you always are different. Conversations take different shapes and forms when people speak to you. People are conscious and constantly aware of your difference. People will ask me, so what is your name? Sorry, how do I say your name? Is it okay if I call you something shorter, something different? Where are you from? I'm from Luton. No, where are you originally from? And that question of navigating that, whilst then in the classroom, you're trying to talk about British values and so many other things, but on a day-to-day life, you're treated as someone that's foreign. And I often use the analogy that sometimes as people from minoritized communities, we don't suffer from imposter syndrome that we often refer to in leadership in education. You sometimes feel like you're a trespasser. And that can be hard. But I think over time, we're seeing more and more role models take up positions, inspire the rest of us. And the onus and the duty is on us those that have had that 15 years I've had in the profession, I have a responsibility now to look at those that are coming in from minoritized communities and ensure that their journey is significantly better, because the people that have paved the way and taken the steps before them have challenged some of the stereotypes, have challenged some of the inequities that exist within that system. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Things are getting better. I wouldn't say they were ever extremely bad, but I think when you're different, when you don't belong, and that sense of the lack of belonging to something, that always remained with me when I started, and as I've moved up into leadership, that still remains to an extent.
You mentioned the importance of role models when you were first starting out. Did you have any role models for you that helped you along in your journey?
I did. I can think of a number of teachers that were incredible role models for me, both in high school and college, people that inspired me, people that had belief in me, people that also had challenged status quo at the time when they entered the profession. One of my teachers, my English teacher, Dr. Patrice Evans, comes to mind when I think of it. Elif Uchar from Luton Sixth Form College comes to mind. And I name them because these were people that were in the profession a lot longer than I have been in the profession, and came much before I entered the profession in terms of when they started their careers. But they embraced who they are, they embraced their difference and not fitting in, and they were authentic to who they are. They were true to themselves. They embodied the fact that they understood how they were different, whether it was religious beliefs, whether it was skin color, but they were proud of that. And they weren't compromising on their own values. So for me, seeing that, I didn't even need them to say anything. Seeing that in other practitioners, in other successful, highly qualified, highly competent teachers, gave me a sense of strength that I could take from that and believe that I could do it too, but also a responsibility to know that actually if I've benefited from role models, I need to aspire to be a role model for others. I need to be someone that others look at and take that encouragement and that strength from when they think of me, think of my journey, and how I am as a leader, how I'm as a teacher. So yes, definitely role models inspired, but there's role models outside of the profession, role models in other professions. We've seen that the issue that we see around lack of diversity isn't limited to the education profession. You see in a multitude of areas in life, industries, and they're faced with similar challenges. So again, seeing some of my colleagues, some friends that I know, and seeing the way they've paved the way in industry, different to ours, but again, stayed true to themselves, true to their beliefs and their values, and challenged the inequity in the system, but also always focused on how they could be the best them. And that's the only thing I was able to control, and that's the one thing I learned from all of my role models is we can challenge the system and we can try and change the system. But the thing that we can always change and always control, because we can't control the system necessarily. And sometimes you can become despondent and disheartened if you feel like you're fighting a fight that you'll never feel like you'll win, or you'll never feel like you'll make a change on.
Yeah.
You can change yourself though for the better. You can always look to be the best professional, the most consummate professional, the best teacher in the classroom, the best leader in your area. Develop your skill sets and knowledge, your expertise. And that's something I took from them. And I think for me, that's helped me a great deal because it's allowed me to channel my energies towards being the best me I can be.
Brilliant. Yeah. So what would you say to leaders in education at the moment? How can they work to improve racial equality in their school communities? And is there anything that they should be keeping in mind or working towards? What would your advice be to help improve things at the moment?
I think in simple terms, I think what we have to have is a sense of belief that people elevate people. I wrote about this recently and it kind of really resonated with me and stuck with me, that unless we as individuals, as leaders, change ourselves, changing what's on displays and walls isn't our focus. We need to live it, not laminate it, as someone once said, and that really rings true to me, that if we want to make a difference as leaders, what we can do is broaden our own understanding of people, of differences from protected characteristics, be open to diversifying our own networks. If we only mix with the same people all the time, and we only make an effort to work with the people that are similar to us, that share the same common backgrounds, the food they eat, the religious beliefs they may hold, the way of life that they have, then the people that are different to that will always struggle to fit in. Yeah. And it requires effort. It requires effort for us to change the way we are as individuals. Every school up and down the country has amazing values plastered all over the walls. But how many of them live it? And some will say, and almost always say, we live it. But what does that feel like when you're me? What does it feel like when you're someone that looks different, that is different? What does my experience look like in your school? And then work from there. How can we change that? Policies are important, but people are far more important. Let's change people. Let's not develop this obsession of policies. Policies are great because we know we want to make change, and we're able to track and see what change will be made and who will make that change. And that's really important. But people are the real levers of change in society. Culture changes through people. So let's change the hearts and minds of people. Let's broaden our own understandings. Let's not make equity an issue for others. Let's not talk about racism. Let's talk about being anti-racist. What does that mean for us as individuals? What does it mean for me to be an anti-racist? What do I need to do to be an anti-racist? What do I need to change about myself? How else can I make changes within myself? So back to that point I said about, we can't control the system, we can't control the world, we can't control the media and all of the negative portrayals that men that look like me might have when you open up a newspaper, a tabloid paper, a news channel. I'm not expecting people in classes in schools up and down the country to be able to control that. I'm not expecting them to be able to make change on that. I will see negative depictions of people that look like me disproportionately more than I will ever see a positive depiction of someone that looks like me. But what we can change is in our schools. We can change ourselves. We can change the people around us. And we can look to champion and elevate people, not through tokenistic measures, not through trying to positively discriminate, because we don't need that. As minoritized communities, I don't need positive discrimination. I just need a fair playing field. I need leaders to go out there and create fair playing fields. I need leaders to be able to see us for our skills, our ability, our knowledge, our experience, and not be put off, as we know statistically many are, by looking at a foreign name on an application. That someone like me will get filtered out at first stage sometimes because of my name. And then when I appear, there'll be a filtering process of whether I'm right for the school or not. If I'm a great teacher, I'm a great teacher. If I'm a great leader, I'm a great leader. See me for who I am, not what you have built up in your unconscious or conscious bias about what you think I am. And that's my real message to leaders. Be authentic, try and be yourself, but live those values. And for that, sometimes living values requires us to dig deep. It requires us to challenge thoughts that go through our mind, challenge long-held views in our mind, challenge our own stereotypes that we may hold, and really smash them and break them and say, right, actually, I'm going to make a concerted effort to lead the way in this. I'm not going to change the displays to add on Martin Luther King and add on Nelson Mandela and let's put on Usain Bolt and Beyonce poster around the school, and that's great. We've achieved equity. Let's bring in another tick list of, instead of having English literacy in every scheme of work, let's add in equality and diversity in every scheme of work. We don't need that. We need change from people, because people create culture, and culture is what we need to have equity in society, a culture of equity.
Yeah. Well, what would you say to a BAME educator that's just getting started, or is maybe thinking about getting into education but can't see a space for themselves there, isn't seeing themselves represented? What would your advice be?
It's the most noble profession. It's the most amazing profession. I attended the Teaching Awards this year, and it's one of those reminders where you realize how amazing the people around you are, where you realize that actually deep down, all of us go into this to sacrifice, to give ourselves for the betterment of others. It's incredibly difficult to be a really horrible human for a sustained period of time and be a teacher, because we go in it because we want to make a difference. We're in the tough schools because we want to make a difference. We plan lessons on a Sunday night because we want to make a difference. We mark every evening because we want to make a difference. And that difference is unparalleled. You don't get that feeling of fulfillment that you would from education, from any other profession. You'll make more money in other professions. You'll probably even have better status. You might have better life opportunities and all sorts of other things, better quality of life, better well-being, loads of other things, but you won't get the same fulfillment. Because knowing that you have the power to change the way people see the world, to change cultures, communities, knowing that you have the power to give one person hope to become something amazing. It's the most amazing feeling. It's a superpower. And that's what I genuinely feel. Being a teacher is a superpower. It's the best decision I've ever made. It's the decision I've never regretted. The one thing I'm most proud of in my career is I've never taken a day off, and everything else I've achieved falls aside when I think of that. I've never taken a day off because I love what I do. I enjoy what I do, and I take a huge amount of fulfillment from it. We all make a difference. Sometimes and some days it doesn't feel like we're making a difference. But when you've been in the profession long enough, it's the interactions I have now when someone says, "Sir, you told me I could make it." And I'm thinking, I don't even remember you. I don't think of what your name is, but you've just stopped me in the supermarket and thanked me for being that one person that believed in you when no one else did. That's powerful. That's unquestionably the most amazing feeling that you can ever experience as a human, knowing that somebody has a better life because of words you may have said, of knowledge that you may have imparted, of inspiration that you may have given, of the little acknowledgement when they were down. It's amazing. So if you're thinking about a career in teaching, you're thinking about the best possible career. You're thinking about a career that will make a difference to equity in society. If we want to change people, teach. If you want to change society, teach. If you want to create a new culture of equity, of harmony, of peace, of love, teach. Because if we model that, then people will follow. If we embody that and we believe that, guess what? Just believing it is enough, because kids see through it. They know when you feel something, when you believe something, they will respond. They will respond to you. So you're that key lever for change. You're that driver for change. So if you believe that you genuinely want to make a difference, then come and train to teach, because you're going to join the best profession. You'll moan about it along the way, probably every day, but there will be days that you will sit there knowing you're one of the happiest people in the world, because of them glimpses and them moments where you see yourself making a difference, but a difference that's transformed and changed someone's life. That's my advice.